everybody, hello everybody, hello everybody, hello everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hello everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like Therian and furry content, as well as arts and crafts, make sure to hit the like button on this video and the subscribe button to my channel. Now, today's video is about TikTok Therians. So first and foremost, I'd like to start by kind of acknowledging the fact that Therianthropy has always been an online kind of identity. Now, when the term was first, I guess, coined, it was, I believe, sometime in the 90s, and I believe it was on the web forum. Now, that means that the term Therian has existed only really as long as the internet has existed. Now, Therianthropy as a whole has existed way longer, but there was never a label to put on this kind of collective experience until that point in the 90s. And following that came other platforms of social media, and with that, Therians followed. They continued to post on social media, and then came TikTok. And at some point on TikTok, Therians started posting quads, and that really blew up. Now, I believe that this started with quads videos, because those got the most attention at first, and then masks, and then here we are. I could be wrong on the timeline of that, but it doesn't really matter. It's not really the point. But the thing is, doing those Therian activities, or Therian adjacent activities is what I mean, and posting them online is not the issue. Posting anything online that is kind of harmless, such as posting masks or quads, that's not the problem. The problem is some of the people who consume those videos, or at least the For You pages those videos land on. Now, actually, I discovered I was a Therian because of a random Therian video coming across my For You page on TikTok, but another problem with posting on TikTok, or I guess I never really mentioned the first problem, but a problem with posting on TikTok is the fact that the For You page gives your videos to people who may not like them and who may kind of latch on the video to spread hate or get their friends to spread hate if it goes on the wrong For You page. So posting on TikTok already kind of leads you in the direction where anyone can watch your video at any time. Not that that's not the case anywhere on the internet, but on TikTok specifically, people that don't like furries and don't like Therians tend to comment and be really, really mean to a lot of Therians who post on TikTok. Now, Therians of all ages post on TikTok. I mean, I post on TikTok, but the large majority of people who post Therian content on TikTok are kids, or at least minors. And sometimes there are people who say the darndest things to these kids, because they will comment things that are absolutely crazy on literal children's videos. Like, I'm sure you've seen comments that are bad. And if you're on TikTok, I'm sure you've seen comments that are really bad on Therian pages, but there is just this large, overwhelming, amount of people who will comment the most vile, disgusting things on literal kids' videos. These videos are made by kids. I'm not talking like a 16-year-old, I'm talking 8-year-olds are also receiving these comments. And there's also the point to say, well, it's just other kids saying it. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's adults that are commenting on young Therian videos saying the most vile, disgusting things that you could say to anybody on the internet, and they're saying it to children for wearing masks or doing quads, and that is insane. And one of the things that is dangerous about posting your Therianthropy and Therian-related things online is the fact that these vile, disgusting comments will probably come on your page. So it's a matter of kind of protecting the younger kids from these comments, because they will get them. If you're posting Therian content, you will get hate comments, and some people don't care that the person in the video is 11 years old. They will comment the worst, most disgusting, vile things on these videos. So the first major problem with TikTok Therians is just not even related to TikTok Therians, it's just related to the fact that TikTok will send your videos to anybody. Like they say, they built this For You page brick by brick kind of style. It's essentially true, but when those videos get on your page, it is random. That's the reason why you're like, why is this on my For You page? Because some connection somewhere let it be, but it wasn't strong enough to be a actual interest. So TikTok's algorithm already sends videos to places where they probably won't be seen by the intended audience, like other furries or Therians. They'll be seen by haters. And I feel like people kind of tend to disregard or forget the fact that, because I personally am so desensitized to these awful things that people comment, because clearly I do this for a living, so I get these comments every day, all the time. Now, I actually get less hate comments than a lot of the younger Therians. Now, my theory is that because I look like, you know, like an adult man with, like, piercings, and people are like, yeah, maybe that's a little... maybe that's a little too much. I don't wanna... I'm not gonna hate comment on this guy's video. That's crazy. Probably because they think that I will, like, retaliate in some way. I never do, but... I don't know. But I get less hate comments than a lot of Therians. But the place where I get the most hate comments of all social medias is TikTok. It is a whole place of hate comments. Oh my goodness. People hate on TikTok all the time. That's like their whole thing. Now, there are other problems with the TikTok Therian community besides just people being absolutely cruel for no reason. And these are talked about often in the community, and honestly, I don't think a lot of them are real problems. One thing that I think a lot of Therians need to hear... Sorry. Okay, so on TikTok, there's this growing problem of older Therians just not understand... Okay, so younger Therians don't understand certain things. Because obviously they don't, they aren't as educated. And then once they are educated, then they know. You know what I mean? That's how it works, that's how everything works. But some older Therians are very mad at younger Therians for not knowing these things. And, like, I guess, like, yeah, you can be like, they're annoying for not knowing. But going so far as to, like, fake claim people and be like, you are not a real Therian, or you should know better if you're trying to post on the community. Guys, like, I'm gonna be so real. You don't have to post educational content or anything Therian related for it to be a Therian, like, account. And you don't have to do any of this to be a Therian. And so many Therians, like, this is, like, yes, this is sometimes, like, kids yelling at kids or adults yelling at kids. It's everyone yelling at everyone over on TikTok, quite frankly. But, guys, we don't have to tell people they're not real Therians just because they experience something that you don't experience, or because they're incorrect about something. Like, it's so easy to just, like, correct someone. Now, it's obviously it's not your responsibility. You don't have to go out of your way to, like, educate anybody. I get it. But if it's someone who doesn't understand, it takes like 5 seconds to educate them. And please, guys, unless the person is being rude initially, you do not need to be rude in your comment where you're telling them, like, the definition of Therian or what that means. You don't need to be passive aggressive. You don't need to be backhanded. You don't need to say anything rude. Just be like, yep, this is what Therian is. Or just explain the definition without having a backhanded comment. Because that's another thing I see all the time on TikTok is, like, people will be like, they'll like, correct someone or educate someone, but then throw in, like, something that's just so unnecessary. Not like a comment that's, like, being like, you're stupid. Like, it's nothing obvious like that. But it's just, like, you should know better next time. Or, like, something like that. And it's like, guys... be nice to each other, please. But again, on that information thing, one big thing and a big criticism of the TikTok Therian community is the lack of education and the lack of knowing what a Therian is or all these different things. Like, it's the lack of knowing. And, like, I get it. Like, it's uncomfortable and annoying to have people that don't know what a Therian is talking about Therianthropy. But also they can. I mean, there's nothing, you can't really stop anyone from talking about Therianthropy if they're going to talk about it. And I guess my biggest thing that I'd suggest is if other people's content is making you upset, whether it's for, like, reasons like it's triggering to you or it's upsetting you or it's just really annoying, block button's free. Block button's free, and sometimes if the person just will not listen, it does not matter. They are one person out there. You can move on, you can do better things. But it's just like, oh my god, so many TikTok Therians are like, nobody on TikTok understands what a Therian is. And guys, I'm gonna be so real. Nobody knows what a Therian is specifically. Let me get into that. This is actually something I've wanted to discuss for a hot minute, so I'll make it brief. I'll make a full video on this at some point. But I brought this up before too, but the definition of Therianthropy, okay, as it stands, which is non-physically identifying as an animal, has a wide range for what that could mean. Technically, that is a huge umbrella of experiences, and that means that two Therians could experience two completely different things and still both be considered Therians, because that's the definition. Now, there are sub-definitions and subtypes of therianthropy and all these different labels, and you can use them if you want to. I personally don't, just because I haven't looked into them. But there are a lot of different ways to be a Therian. So, the lack of education onto what a Therian is and how to be a Therian isn't as complicated or bad as you think, because really there's no one way to be a Therian. Now, if they are like actively spreading like Therians go to bathroom in litter boxes, if they're saying stuff like that, then I'd be like, okay, well, maybe that's a little problematic. That's a little problematic. Maybe we should shut that down a little bit. But if they're saying like yeah, my stereotype is like I have 67 stereotypes, that's a thing. Like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how they're experiencing it. But again, I'll just see people all the time being like, TikTok Therians don't know what they're talking about. And I'm gonna talk about this for a second. So, I recommend not going on Reddit unless you have to. A lot of things go down there. And there's a Therian page on Reddit. There's a Therian community. Don't go there, guys. Like, it will not help you. Sometimes I go there for video ideas, to be honest, but otherwise, that is probably the most toxic Therian community I've seen on the internet, is the Reddit one. Oh my god, the Reddit, like, forum Therian. Well, there's a lot to unpack there that I will talk about in another video, but I'd recommend just not giving into the negativity that Reddit kind of brings. So, I forget why I even brought up Reddit. Hold on a second, let me rewatch my clips. Okay, I remember why. Because TikTok Therians may not know what they're talking about, but neither do a lot of the people over on Reddit. Like, a lot of them do. Like, some of them are like Therians that have been in the community for ages. But also, the community is actively changing and growing. And the negativity on that page is just so bad. At least on TikTok, there's a considerable amount of positivity in the community, or at least you'll get a larger sum of kind of neutral content. The Reddit is like 99% negative content. Listen, and then you might be asking where I suggest to go for Therian advice, and I guess not advice, but like Therian information, and to that I say I don't. Listen, guys, when you're doing research, you don't go to one place, is the thing. And so when I'm doing research, I go all over the internet. I go to pages, forums, Instagram, TikTok. I go everywhere. You know what I mean? I go to every website everywhere just to compile the information together and then make my own opinion about it. You know what I mean? So if you're looking for, like, I'm gonna be so real, the Reddit does have a lot of like genuine links to like information about what a Therian is, but the active community that is posting these days on the Reddit is just so like, oh my god, guys. And another final criticism that I see all the time of TikTok Therians is the fact that it's becoming a trend. I hear people say this all the time, and it makes me so annoyed. I'm gonna be so real, I get annoyed when people say like, Therianthropy is becoming a trend, this is the worst. Okay, now, there's things that are parts of like, they're like adjacent to the community, like mask making and quads, that are part of like being a Therian, just because that's like Therian content online, like that's what Therians watch a lot of the times. It's by Therians for Therians, that's what you're watching, is quads and masks usually. And so people that are posting like quads and masks and are just doing it for fun are not like ruining the Therian community. Like there's no part of mask making or quads that has anything to do with being a Therian. It's just a way of like expressing yourself in some ways. And some people have a problem with it. They're like, TikTok Therians. They're making it a trend. They're making masks and gear. They're making it like it's fun. Because it is, guys. It is. And if you're talking about like Therianthropy specifically, like being a Therian is a trend, I strongly disagree. I do not think anyone is identifying as a Therian just for fun. I don't think anyone's just hopping on the, I'm going to be a Therian, unless their friends specifically are and they just want to fit in. That's the only time I've ever seen it happen. Is like in like friend groups when like a person's like, I'm a Therian, that's who I am, and someone's like, oh my god, I'm a Therian too. Even if they don't like understand it, that's something I see all the time. But I think that's the only case that I've seen like someone actively try to like hop on the Therian trend. Otherwise, it's really not a trend. And then there's like the argument that it's just like, well, there's so many more Therians now than there were 10 years ago. Yes, because the internet. And also, a lot of the Therians now are like ages like 10 to 20, like that range. You know what I mean? Like that 10-year span is like the ages of people that are kind of posting about therianthropy more. And I wonder if that's maybe because there's a whole new generation of kids being on the internet now than there was 10 years ago. Right? Like, come on. But like, also, I don't think it's a bad thing for more people to be in the community. I never did. I mean, the whole point of the community is to be a community. It's to have other people to understand you and to support you. And this next generation of Therians, because that's what they are, the younger Therians will be you someday. They will be older. And yes, maybe there's some Therians who identify as a Therian now and won't someday, but there's nothing wrong with that. Using the label for a temporary amount of time because you feel it fits you does not mean you are invalid when you stop using that label. Because that was you for the time. And even though you've evolved and changed past that or realize you aren't a Therian, that does not mean that you were faking when you use that label. And I think that's something that a lot of you guys need to understand, is that people that grow and change and realize, well, maybe I'm not actually a Therian, are not fake Therians. They were for the time. They thought they were, so they were. Because the only person that can tell if you are a Therian is you. And a person that thinks they are a Therian and then realizes they aren't later, doesn't mean they're fake. It just means they aren't a Therian. And thinking you are at one point and then realizing you're not is not a bad thing. Never is. But overall, I think TikTok is a very bad place to post videos. Just because it is, as a Therian, I mean. In general, but I think that posting therianthropy content on TikTok is hit or miss. You can do it if you want, but the community is pretty toxic over there, as far as I'm concerned. But yes, those are the dangers of the TikTok Therian community, and honestly, it's looking pretty grim. But at least in the United States, it may get banned. I don't know. I still haven't heard any updates on that. Let me know in the comments if you know anything about the TikTok ban. But anyway, if you're a Therian planning to post online, be very careful and think it through before you post, because anything you post online is there forever. In some way or another, someone has that video or post. And that may sound ominous, but I want to throw that in there just to make sure everyone knows that once it's online, it is online. Now, if you like this video or this kind of content, make sure to hit that like button on this video and the subscribe button to my channel. It would mean the world to me and would help me make a lot more content for you guys. So, thank you so much for watching, and tell me what you think about the TikTok Therian community in the comments. Let me know. I am so curious. So, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.